Amy
Hi,
Willoughby.
Aaron Jaenig, I'm sorry.
Ellen Tuvollo.
Where are you from?
I'm the
Oh. So we're clear.
DM.
I know who you two are. You want me to begin? Well, I guess I was just bouncing off Monica's reaction as she left the room. She was concerned about your response regarding your abilities or exactly what DM's role is in either approving or denying the permit. And I guess my understanding of the STRAP regulations is that in the guideline it says that you can't, the remediation project must not create more harm than it would have than exists in its current state. And I know that National Grid keeps trying to say the LNG facility is unrelated to this remediation project, but if what's going to exist after the soil is remediated is an LNG facility, and those dangers I could talk about from now until tomorrow, that the end result would be significantly more dangerous than leaving the soil the way it is or remediating it and not putting a liquefied natural gas facility on top of it. I think would be my first statement.
I think you're getting into an area that's just outside our jurisdiction. We have jurisdiction over the cleanup of the soil and the groundwater out there. What's contaminated? We don't go beyond that. We can't get into siting issues. We can't tell someone they can't put a certain type of facility.
But sure, but if knowledge exists as to what facility is going to exist on that property after it's remediated, and your guideline says that the danger cannot be more so than it is as it currently exists.
It's related to things we have jurisdiction over. We have jurisdiction over the soil and the groundwater. You're getting into stuff that's more zoning and more federal type regulation.
Can I just clarify?
Yeah.
Because what I hear you saying is that in your regulation itself, your regulation, that it says that the whatever is going to be replacing what is currently there can't be more hazardous than what is there. Yeah. That's your regulation. Is that your belief?
I don't know exactly what you're saying.
Look it up if
but
we're
that is consistent with what the regulations. We wouldn't want anything that was worse. After the cleanup, it shouldn't be worse than before the cleanup.
Okay, so you don't want anything that's worse than before the cleanup to exist there after the cleanup.
But related to what's being cleaned up and what we have jurisdiction over is the limits of our office's jurisdiction. So, if you brought something there that was horrible,
Like
but
a
it's
methane
not,
leaking, explosive, liquefied natural gas processing facility on the wrong side of the hurricane barrier within 50 feet of the coastline?
And within our level 1 trauma center and neighborhoods where people live and children go to school.
it's
Well, that was a yes or no question. Is that more dangerous than capped toxic soil?
it's not within our jurisdiction
So
to
you're from
regulate
National
that.
Grid?
So
Why are y'all cleaning this site up?
Because of the compounds that are present on the site. The project area is largely already capped. So we'll be replacing
The project area for what?
for the liquefaction project and also the driveway.
So you're
Oh,
cleaning
no,
this
no.
up in order to put the liquefaction facility here.
Regardless of what project we'd be doing on this property, we'd be
Well,
following
it's not regardless,
the
because
same
if you weren't doing that,
guidelines.
I just want to know why you're cleaning it up. Like, is it just for fun? Is it for the benefit of the community? Like, why are you cleaning it up?
We're following Rhode Island DEM guidelines for both projects, our driveway project and also the liquefaction project.
So I guess I'm confused because what I heard you say that they're separate, and I'm hearing you say that they're connected.
This property, 642 Allen's Ave, is contaminated. That's why DEM, the site remediation program that I work under, that's why we're involved. So they have a contaminated site here, so when they need to disturb soil or do anything out there, they need to go through our office
They as
to do
National
that. They
Grid.
as National Grid or any responsible party, whoever owned this property would have to do that. They will eventually be cleaning up the entire property. We're expecting a site investigation report before the end of the year that will address the entire property. But when you have an industrial property like this where there's an active facility, it's not uncommon for us to allow a phased approach because you can't just shut everything down at once to clean up the entire property. So that's what they're proposing. A phased approach to cleanup. One of the phases is this area, the strap area for the liquefaction project.
So your understanding is that the purpose of the cleanup is for the liquefaction project?
Yes. Yeah, they have to clean up that area before they do it because
order
they can't
to
clean it
build
up
the
after.
liquefaction
They can't clean it up afterwards because they're putting a new infrastructure on it.
Okay. Was your understanding, because what I hear is that people
Well,
keep saying they're separate.
at the last meeting, National Grid went to great lengths to tell everyone that this project had nothing to do with the liquefaction facility, so that's incredibly confusing. I had several people come up to me and say they were leaving or that left and were confused by why that meeting was happening, and were told directly by National Grid employees that this strap process had nothing to do with the liquefaction facility.
I think there's a line there, and I know.
Well, there either is or there isn't. I mean,
What I'm
if
saying,
National Grid, then which is part of the larger problem, is that National Grid has spent the last year telling everyone that they didn't need to participate in this or participate in the public or with the public or try to get out of this or try to usurp the DEM's authority. So it would seem that if they're so good at this and it's so necessary and if it's part of everyday life to do this on these properties in this manner, then why would they try so hard to get out of it and to usurp your authority if from what you're saying you don't even have any?
we have authority over the cleanup of this parcel. We don't have authority over the liquefaction project, and we don't have the authority to tell a responsible party that is responsible for the
We're
cleanup.
not asking you to tell them not to build it.
No, but we don't have the authority to tell someone they can't clean up.
So then why are we doing this?
Yeah, why are we here?
Well, because our regulations require us to.
So basically your regulations don't do anything?
No, if there are genuine concerns about how the property
You
will
don't
be cleaned
consider
up,
these to be genuine concerns?
but they're concerns that are extending outside the jurisdiction of our program. We regulate the cleanup of soil
Okay,
and groundwater
can I
out there.
share with you my concerns about the actual cleanup?
Yes.
So I live about a mile away from the proposed facility site, which is, as I understand it, being this regulatory process, this is being requested in order to create this LNG facility. The cleanup itself, I'm completely opposed to LNG facility, and I'm opposed to the cleanup because I have a 4-month-old baby, and in the morning, when I wake up in the morning, and my 4-month-old baby is coughing for a reason that I really don't understand. I know I can smell the pork sometimes. I know that the smell that I can smell is coming from this exact area is traveling to my house. And when my baby is coughing in the morning when I get up, and in the afternoon, in the middle of the day, and all day long, and I'm sitting there thinking, what's the connection? Is my baby coughing because of the things that are coming out of the port? And so my understanding of your role is that you're supposed to be helping protect us from the things that are happening here. And it's really unsettling to know that what appears to me to be happening is that this process it's already going to happen no matter what we say or what we do. And that it doesn't seem to really matter that there's all of these, the list of the things that are going to be dug up, that are supposed to be dug up in 90 days, but it's supposedly going to take 2 years to dig them up. So my baby's going to be exposed to those things for 2 years, and then God only knows it's getting into the water. I just don't understand why is this even a question as to whether or not the DM would reject this permit? What's in your interest for giving the permit?
Our regulations are designed to allow people to clean up contaminated properties. That's because it's better to be cleaned up than
But it's not going to be cleaned up. It's going to be replaced with an incredibly hazardous, methane-leaking, explosive facility on the wrong side of the hurricane barrier, exposed to weather events, terrorism. You're smirking at me, Joe, but it's all true. And you can.
I understand your position. I get it, but it's it's
Well, so
something
if these lines are
beyond-
so firm, then why did you let National Grid for a year try to squirm around them? I mean, you're saying these lines are so firmly drawn in the sand, but you can.
The lines that you're talking about were when we started this process, when the PIP petition came in, right? We thought everything would fall under that. So National Grid, their attorneys, presented an argument that our DEM attorneys looked at. And basically, the argument was, and I'm not an attorney, but fundamentally was that anything to do with the FERC falls outside of the jurisdiction of DEM. It is preempted.
Well, except that National Grid's application to FERC directly referenced this permit. So therefore, this is within the FERC process because their application to FERC included this.
Over the next several months.
But that's day one. Their application to FERC included this. So that is within the FERC guideline, no? Yes or no?
I don't know. I'm not.
You don't know?
I'm not sure.
that.
What's the question? I'm not sure where you.
You just told me that DEM doesn't regulate things that FERC regulate, even though that their application to FERC clearly asked for this permit as part of the FERC regulatory process. So that doesn't make any sense. For you to say that you're not part of that process when their application to FERC made you part of that process, and then we can get back to the lawyers going back and forth, and then FERC saying that, in fact, that assertion, which was true from day one, is true. And you are beholden, they are beholden to participate in this process.
With regards to the cleanup of the soil and groundwater on this.
As part of an authorization for a liquefied natural gas facility.
But it almost doesn't matter.
Of course it matters.
But not for our limited jurisdiction. The jurisdiction of
that jurisdiction is given to you through FERC related to this specific property. You can't unrelate them. You cannot. They don't exist without each other.
Our jurisdiction, the limits of the PIP, which are fall under the remediation regulations, are the limits of what the remediation regulations dictate. They dictate.
You can't replace a cleaned up site can't be cleaned up and left in a worse way than it started.
Well, they're going to clean it up, and it's going to be better so that they can put the LNG facility.
They can put the worst thing on top of the better. I mean, just, come on.
Do you have a family?
Yes.
So if you
Would you live where she lives? Would you raise your kid there?
What would you say? What would you say if you were me sitting here?
If I was against it, I would argue against it, but I would argue to the people who actually have authority over it. I would argue to the FERC. The FERC is
They
is
said
the
you have
organization.
authority over it.
No, we have the authority over the cleanup of the soil and groundwater.
Right, and
But
that
we don't have the authority
regulation.
about siting a facility there, and that's what your issue is not about the cleanup of
But
the soil
if the
and
state
groundwater.
of the soil,
It's
Oh,
both.
you're saying you don't want the soil and groundwater to be cleaned up?
The way that it's being cleaned up, no. My understanding is that the way that they're proposing to clean it is not the best way to clean it. And as I understand, we should be able to ask for a different way to clean it up, like actually
Well, you
clean
can
it
comment.
up.
That's what this is about. We're listening to comments on the cleanup and how it's done. That's the whole idea of the PIP. That's the whole intention of that language.
so then
and that those
DEM
sections
could
of-
authorize an independent environmental observer or somebody outside of National Grid's environmental cleanup authority, someone to monitor the cleanup?
I don't think so.
Why not?
I don't think we have that authority.
You just said your authority is to monitor how they clean up the soil, and based on National Grid
No,
trying
we
to circumvent
regulate.
this process.
Our process is we regulate the investigation and cleanup of the soil.
Okay.
Right?
And so
They
if the
submit a
people who
plan,
have
we
access
review
to
that
this
plan.
process through the public involvement plan don't trust National Grid, then can't we put in place an independent monitor outside of Amy, whom I don't trust, to oversee this in a safe way, to watch the day-to-day process? She said a person was going to stand out there occasionally with a doohickey and decide, dependent not with any concern of how the wind moved or the weather changed, that occasionally they'd go out there and see if toxic soil was flying into the neighborhoods or not. We don't believe that that's an adequate amount of regulation, and even if the National Grid agreed to increase or change the way that they explained thoroughly at the police station a couple weeks ago, do that, we don't trust that they would do that. I don't trust that they would do that, and I believe most people who have followed this process for the last year don't believe that National Grid will responsibly do that. And we would like to have independent monitors of the cleanup in place to do this and report back to the community as the public involvement plan allows for the public to be involved in these decisions and to oversee this process, that we very clearly and respectfully don't trust National Grid to do it in a way that we deem safe.
I don't know if we have that authority or not, but I can find out. It's a legitimate comment. So, and it's it's part of the record. So we'll look into that.
And to be able to have the opportunity to see what the actual remediation plans are and request something alternative.
Well, that's what this is about now. The remediation plan is the strap, and to request something alternative now is the opportunity. I mean,
I'm not an expert in toxic soil remediation, and I think the other piece of this that I think is really important to mention is that and I'm sure it's come up before, is just that if this was happening in an area where this community was a whole bunch of white people, this would be really different. This would look really different. And I just have to say that I think racism is a part of this. And, I don't feel like as somebody, I'm a working mom with 2 jobs who just left my job to come here to be able to talk about this with you all. There are many other people who I'm sure would love to be here to give comments. None of them are also soil remediation experts. I don't think I should have to be coming up with a solution. I just know, the little bit that I know is that in terms of soil remediation, the best thing to do generally is to leave it alone. Like, do we even really know what's under there?
Yeah,
does this not terrify anybody else but me?
There's lots of samples. And
Do you think it's scary? Like, I think it's terrifying to open up the cap and let whatever. It's like Pandora's box. Like, does this scare you?
No, we've studied this area for years, and we know what we're going to be digging into and how to handle the soil and groundwater that we're going to be managing. And we've detailed it all within the STRAP project, the STRAP plan that we submitted to Rhode Island DM. It's all spelled out within that report.
Which people in the community are supposed to find time to hire someone to
understand,
explain to them
like-
how and when and in what free time. Which is another reason why there needs to be someone in place, because obviously you are very limited in what you are allowed to do, which you very clearly explained to us over and over again, is that there are significant limitations on what you can and cannot do. And there's a significant amount of reasons why the community distrusts National Grid.
Including a BS letter that I got through my mail slot explaining about how there's no, the LNG facility poses no potential harms in this neighborhood. It's like, that doesn't instill trust. I'm just telling you, as a person who unfortunately pays my National Grid bill every month, it does not instill trust.
And even in those signs over there, I don't know if they're the same ones we had a couple weeks ago or you've edited them, but even the parts that reference DEM regulations take out the word hazardous and take out the word toxic in some pretty significant places, I think. From when I referenced them last time I saw them. I didn't have time to go back and look them over, but I did notice that there were discrepancies between what is in the regulation referencing those specific things and what's required to explain about those specific things and what has been in the notifications and what has been on those signs and what National Grid has been transparent about and what they have related to those disclosures. The use of those words, which with the very little time that people do have to spend engaging with this process, if the materials they're receiving are misleading or leaving out the parts that would be most concerning to them, it's pretty disingenuous, I think. And another reason why nobody trusts National Grid to do this. You're right. At the end of the day, clean soil is better than dirty soil. It's not that simple, and we all know it's not that simple. We're not taking dirty soil and making it clean for the